today I'm joined by industry representative from telecommunication industry and academia, and they will be discussing with us and telling us that how the impact and the role of Industry 4.0 can be enabled at the backbone of 5G and also the digital transformation. With that, please allow me to welcome Abdulaziz Al-Barak, Head of Business Development from Ericsson. Mr. Saud Al-Sheri, VP of Product and Solution from STC Group. Dr. Muhammad Salim Aloni, Professor at KAS University. Thank you so much for joining us on this very exciting topic. So as we know, LEAP is all about discussing the groundbreaking innovation, about showing to the world that how we can enable the partnership, enable the Industry 4.0 at the backbone of 5G. So with the commercial launch of 5G, industry players are recognizing the faster they move the automation, the kind of real insights they are getting out of this. Regardless of the ambition, whether it's about improving the quality, efficiency, competitiveness, there are lots going on when it comes to enabling Industry 4.0. So let's kickstart and understand that when it comes to 5G as the key enablers and innovation platform for Industry 4.0, my question would be to you, Mr. Abdulaziz, that from an Ericsson point of view, what are the use cases you are seeing in the world, and where do you see the focus would be in next 24 months?
So, thank you, Shoaib, for moderating the panel for us today. And we in Ericsson are working on both on commercial deployments and innovative projects to find the most value-adding use cases. Our aim at Ericsson is to enable the digital transformation of the industry, and we have been managing so far by utilizing 5G to be the key vehicle, as you mentioned, to do that. And what better example than our 5G smart factory back in the US, where we're trying multiple connectivity connections as well as 5G enabled use cases. And one example would be our autonomous guided vehicles, where we are noticing about 65% improvement in material handling on the shop floor. As well as we noticed that they're performing 15% more efficient than their Wi-Fi counterparts. Another personal favorite of mine is the use of digital twins, where with a lot of sensors on the shop floor, we're able to replicate the physical environment into a digital twin. That has helped us to optimize our processes. We've been able to reduce unplanned downtime by 50% and increase our capacity by 25%, as well as reduce errors of material by 30%.
That's very interesting. Let's hear also from Mr. Saud from an STC Group point of view. This was a view from the product owner, from a vendor point of view. You as an STC Group, how do you see the use cases are evolving, and where do you see the STC Group focusing in next 24 months?
Thank you, Shah, for the question. When it comes to STC, and specifically in 5G or Industry 4th Industrial Revolution, we see it as multiple technologies that merge together, and they coming together bring value. Or case in terms of use cases that will either generate revenue, it will enhance efficiency, it will enhance the quality of the services that we have, and sometimes when we say revenue, sometimes it can be disruptive, which is making something that was not possible before. So technologies are enabling things that were not possible in the past. For example, blockchain with the coins as an example. 5G now, it will enable the autonomous vehicles in a way that was not possible before. So from our side, or from our perspective, we see that 5G, if we focus on 5G only, is that it's growing at a very fast pace at this stage, and it's growing at around 27% CAGR from 2030, from 2020 to 2030. And as part of this, we consider ourselves as STC, because we are a group company, we are a technology powerhouse. So we have the wireless part, we have the infrastructure, which is the backend, where we have the cloud and all the components in terms of infrastructure. We're also having companies that are specialized in cybersecurity, as an example. So this is where we can really close the gap and make sure that when we go to our clients, it's not focusing on the technology and what we can provide as a technology. Is it 5G, or is it AI, or is it blockchain? Because what everyone here is focusing on is what kind of value that will provide, or those technologies will provide to me. So we are in discussion about what kind of values, what kind of KPIs, what kind of enhancements that we can do for them. And this goes across the board. For example, one of the use cases that we have now in our booth, actually we invited Jazan, for example, as part of Ministry of Health. It reduces the people or movement from clinic to clinic, or the transfer of people, by 60%. That's a massive change to them. And this increased the quality and even enhanced the quality of life of the residents of Jazan, as an example. So this is what technology is all about. And of course, we are going into sectors, verticals, healthcare, industrial, logistics, etc. And we are seeing how we can really digitize those industries by bringing the native or the nascent, the use cases that can benefit them from all aspects. That's it from my side.
That's very insightful, Mr. Saud. Thank you so much. So let's move to Mr. Muhammad to hear from your point of view. Where do you see the trends are shaping, and how the vendors like STC Group and some of our audience, what they should be focusing on when it comes to Industrial 4.0 in next 24 months?
Thank you, Shuaib, for moderating this panel and for giving us this opportunity to share some of our thoughts on this exciting topic. Obviously, we have been living with 5G for about 2 years now, and when we talk about 5G, typically we highlight or emphasize the speed. That's kind of the first thing that comes to our mind, and that's actually how 5G deployment started. But actually what we'll be seeing over the coming months and years is the other important cornerstone of 5G, which are massive machine-type communication and ultra-reliable low-latency communication. So when we talk about massive machine-type communication, this is about connecting a lot of devices within the coverage area. It's about extending their battery lifetime in order to fully unleash the full potential of IoT in a variety of like industrial applications and home smart home type applications. The other cornerstone is ultra reliable, ultra low latency communication. That's about it's not about speed. It's about response time. What you want to connect actuators, to connect sensors in absolute real time, in order to enable this kind of paradigm of connected robots, connected swarm of UAVs and drones. And again, this is another set of applications that hopefully we'll see become more and more popular over the coming few months.
Thank you, Mr. Muhammad. Very insightful. And I think most of us sitting here would probably agree that we have been talking about promises of 5G as an enabler for Industry 4.0 for a few years now. But we haven't really seen that the 5G for enterprise market has paid off, has taken off. So, Mr. Saud, from your perspective, what are the key hurdles you are facing today? What are you doing about it to overcome those challenges to completely make the best use of the 5G rollout?
From our side, I mean, we are really blessed and to be part of this nation and part of this country. We have a great leadership that really puts a vision towards everyone here to make sure that there is an objective that we are going after. So as part of this objective is that to be in the forefront. So STC was among the first wave of the providers of 5G. And as part of this, as a consequence, is that we decided not to be a market follower, where we see what is happening. Actually, we want to be a market maker. There are use cases that we are sitting here and developing that is not precedented anywhere in the world. We are unique. We have our own use cases that are specific to Saudi. Of course, we'll take the best of breed from other countries. Maybe we combine things together. And this is the power that we have through our, for example, subsidiary STC solution, where we can integrate multiple solutions to be able to come up with the right use case that is relevant to us. So, one of the hurdles that we are having today is the availability of the ecosystem. I'll just give you a few examples. I mean, Doctor mentioned the UAVs and the autonomous vehicles as an example. If you see the autonomous vehicles, when it comes to 5G, as of now, until now, most of them are based on a vehicle that is connected by a wire to a CPE or a modem, 5G modem. They're not embedded. So this is a readiness from the manufacturers and the ecosystem. So how we are going to do this and how can we overcome this is actually by providing the requirements, showing the use cases, showing what makes sense for Saudi to be able to make sure that those manufacturers, OEMs, partners, it's an ecosystem. It's not about STC alone. It's not about the, I would say, the vendors as well. It's a partnership with multiple stakeholders that really can make this happen. So putting our hands together, this is the way where how we can make sure that we can be agile. Sometimes we'll not see things end to end and ready fully. How can we be flexible in a way to make sure that we put it in phases until we reach the objective that we want to have.
Thank you so much, Mr. Saud. You actually mentioned a very important topic about availability of the ecosystem. To unleash the potential of 5G, to enable the Industry 4.0, it is an imperative that we build a very robust ecosystem. We collaborate, we partner. We cannot win this battle, we cannot enable this by ourselves, so it has to be the partnership, it has to be building the ecosystem. So let's hear from Mr. Muhammad that in your experience, in your research, in what you have seen, what the fruitful collaboration should look like, and what are the success imperatives that vendors like Ericsson or companies like STC Group should keep that in mind.
Obviously, as a researcher, as a faculty member in the university, we have been involved in the development of wireless communication system over the last few decades. And it's good not to stay in our own bubble and develop things on our own based on models and just published paper. Interacting with big players, in particular industrial or governmental agencies, can be very helpful. So as an example, we have been working with Ericsson on a collaborative project over the last few months, and I will highlight two key projects at a high level. One project is about a futuristic technology known as intelligent reflecting surface. That's kind of the next, at least from a communication theory perspective, the next thing in communication, because we have been working for a long time on optimizing transmitter, optimizing receiver. What we are now trying to optimize is the channel between transmitter and receiver in order to improve the performance. And that's one of the projects we're doing with Ericsson. Another project is about wireless backhauling. As we densify our network, as we increase the number of access points, obviously we need to keep connecting and interconnecting these access points. And it doesn't make sense anymore to dig right and left and put fiber optic everywhere. We need to go to wireless backhaul solution. Wireless backhaul solution in the context of spectrum scarcity, in the context of spectrum exhaustion. So we need to go to the upper band. We call that extreme band communication. We are talking about communication in the terahertz and the optical domain. And that's one of the other projects that we are pursuing with Ericsson. We do have also over the years a few projects with STC, and we have hopefully another project coming. So collaboration with big players for us in universities is very important because it makes us work on real problems and make our research relevant to things that matters.
Very insightful. Thank you, Mr. Muhammad. So from your side, Abdulaziz, what are the lessons learned or learnings for you be like doing the collaboration in the region, and from a global perspective you would like to share?
So the beauty about the telecom industry is that it's creating connections that is a lot. What better example like our partnership with Sheikh Abdullah, University of Science and Technology, where we're researching together 5G and 6G, next generations of technologies. I like the example that Dr. Muhammad has mentioned about transparent and flexible services. When we think about the ambition of the country with the vision of NEOM and the city of the line, where the whole infrastructure is going to be invisible, that could be a perfect solution that we're working on in order to influence the ecosystem and provide unique solutions for Saudi Arabia. We're working also with numerous global partners, to name a few. We have Hexagon, IFM Electronics, and KPMG, who are with us today in our booth, and I invite you all to go to our booth and experience the use cases that we have worked on together.
Thank you, Abdulaziz. Mr. Saud, you talked about ecosystem unavailability as one of the challenge. what STC Group is doing about in collaborating in building the ecosystem with the local players, with international players, and such as hyperscalers as well, to enable your aspiration?
Maybe I touched point on some of the answers to this question in my previous response, but in a way, we are considering ourselves like as a technology powerhouse. We have lots of arms and legs in terms of Tawal as an infrastructure company, system integration through solutions, Sirara as a cyber company, mission critical applications through specialized, and how we can make sure that utilizing our companies and their expertise in those domains, and how we can expand it even further. So it's not about STC as a group. We are also partnering with great, for example, academia as an example. The companies like Ericsson, Huawei, in AI, for example, with NVIDIA, and the leading companies to make sure that how can we really bring the best of breed in terms of investments in POCs, or what we call now, it's not POCs anymore because it's not about the technology, it's about the value, proving the value. So when we put something there, what is the outcome that this use case is driving rather than testing how fast it is or how responsive it is. So we're making sure that we are addressing the business itself rather than the technology alone. And this cannot happen without bringing all people together and making sure that we are making huge and continuous investments in our efforts to make sure that we bring all of those ecosystem players together.
Thank you, Saud. That's very insightful. Now, as we talked about 5G in general, and we also recognize that the 5G is still relatively new in enterprise. A lot needs to be done, and we are all working collaboratively towards enabling the Industry 4.0. However, at the same time, we hear about 6G. The research is already underway, and by the time we really kind of maximize the return on 5G, the 6G sword would be hanging on our head. So let's also hear from our panelists that what 6G has to offer when it comes to enterprise and Industry 4.0. How do you see the 6G will play a role, and what Ericsson is doing about it?
So it's very important when we talk about 6G or the next leap, let's say in mobile communications, it will occur at around 2030. And today we're talking during this event about artificial intelligence, IoT, machine learning, and 5G as well. We see that 6G will emerge as a network platform that's going to bring intelligence closer to the customer in a way that we're going to bring the artificial to become more natural. We predict in Ericsson 8 distinctive technology journeys that will occur from today till 2030. And I'm not going to bother you all by mentioning all 8, but I think 2 are really important and relevant to what we're talking about. One is the concept of extended reality. So today we're already seeing how AR and VR is being introduced into the enterprise. Extended reality is going to introduce feel, touch, smell, as well as taste. Another example, as what I talked about earlier about digital twins, is the digital programmable physical world, where today we're seeing sensors being all over, let's say, the industry. It's going to be part of our everyday life. And that's going to enable us to replicate the physical with the digital twin, where interaction in real time between the physical and the digital will be instant.
Mr. Abdulaziz, as it sounds fascinating, but on the same time, it also sounds creepy that you have use cases about smelling and so on. So anything you would like to add, Mr. Muhammad, from your research point of view? How do you see 6G evolution?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and I'm often asked this question because, as you know, we work on a 10-year cycle. So as you mentioned very well, are deploying 5G aggressively worldwide. As researchers, we are actively working on beyond 5G and 6G. And then when I'm asked what 6G would be, my quick answer to that is 6G should be about super connecting the connected and connecting the unconnected. So super connect the connected and super connected, hyper connecting the connected. We talked quite a bit about that, and we have many examples of that. What we talk less about is connecting the unconnected. This kind of important aspect that we would like to see 6G being aligned with the basically sustainability development goals, being able to connect more people. We still have roughly half of the world population that is either unconnected or underconnected, which means we want to make connectivity available at the right speed and at the right price. Affordability is also an important aspect. And this would enable another important set of application in rural environment and low-income neighborhood environments. When we talk about rural environment, we talk, for instance, about smart agriculture. When we talk about oceans and seas, we talk about smart fishing. So there is also some other benefits for connected and connected. And as a final words about that, another important aspect is when we develop technology to connect and connected, we create resilience. Because those of us who work and live in a connected world, we can lose this connectivity anytime because of a man-made or natural disaster. When we develop technology for connected and connected, we can right away, in real time, deploy this technology when you lose connectivity, when you have reduced connectivity for any one of these reasons.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mohammed. We asked this question when we were at the end of 4G or 3G per se, that what are the lessons learned from 3G which we can bring it to 4G? We asked the same question for 5G. So what are the lessons learned you would like to kind of have it in top of your mind, Mr. Saud, to kind of, get the better return on the 6G or better prepare ourselves for the 6G? That would be my first question. And the second question to wrap up our discussion is what STC, what B2B is doing in terms of further extracting the value out of 5G.
So one of the main lessons learned, especially with those domains, basically 5G, 6G, etc., is incremental innovation. So it's something that is becoming more and more superior as we move. So it's something that we'll have to jump on board.
Yeah.
The question is how
and when,
how, at what time, and then thinking about the execution. Those are the things that we have to think about when we deploy and when we go to next stages of learning. Now, what's your second question again?
My second question is that what we need to do more to extract the value out of 5G.
Sure. So in order for us to extract more and more, there is the education part, there are the showcasing part, there are the things that we need to make sure that everyone is aware. I like, for example, the notion when connecting the unconnected as an example, is that making sure that what kind of use cases that were not possible. Because when you start those kind of technologies, things will rise that you haven't thought about. When 4G came in, Snapchat was not a thing. And then suddenly there are the use cases that came up that was built on top of that, for example, 4G. Now 5G is enabling a new set of technologies that I wouldn't be surprised to see in a year or two. Few things that are happening and will be a mainstream.
Yes.
The killer application, if I may, what we call it as telcos, that we did not even think about before, but suddenly it became a main thing. That is it.
Thank you, Mr. Saud. On behalf of LEAP, please allow me to thank Mr. Abdulaziz, Mr. Saud, and Mr. Mohammed for sharing their insights. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you do. Thank you very much.